Hey, what's up, YouTubers? And welcome back to the bedroom of Todd E. Walnuts. It's a chill Friday evening. It's about 5:30. I don't know if you can see that. 5:37. I got nothing going on because, to be honest, I don't really have much going on in my life. So on a Friday night, instead of going out and doing something, I'm gonna stay home and record a video. Hopefully you guys will like this. I have a feeling this is the type of video that won't get too many hits, but it's something I want to do. This is my old time radio collection, and I did show this on my channel a time or two, but it's been a long time. And I have picked up a couple things since that video, and I don't really have, this is not organized. It's kind of it's an organized mess is what it is. I don't really have any rhyme or reason as to what I'm going to show in what order. But basically, these are all TV shows. These are all radio shows from the 40s and 50s. I'm going to show you guys some of these. I'm sure some of you out there have heard of some of these, maybe a majority of these, and maybe some of you have heard of all of these, but there's going to be some people who haven't heard of any of these. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. I found a CD I had been looking for. It was in this box of stuff. I was looking for this CD for about 2 years. This is Bing Crosby's White Christmas. It has nothing to do with this video. I was just so happy to find it finally, because I love to listen to this during Christmas, and I misplaced it. Now I got it back. So get yourself comfortable. Get a beverage and a snack. Get your blankie. Light a candle. Kick your feet up. Sit in a lazy boy chair. Lay on the couch. Hell, go on your treadmill and work out while you watch this. I don't care. Just watch the video. Enjoy it. And I'm joined by the ladies again. You guys know. If you guys remember their names, put it in the comments below. They're always here. All right, let's get into it and see what we got for my old-time radio collection. So the first television was invented, I believe, in the late 20s or early 1930s. And it was invented by a 21-year-old who only had electricity in his house for 7 years prior to inventing the television. That blows my mind, because nowadays you can't get a 21-year-old to cut the grass, right? Things have really changed since the 20s and 30s, and not for the good, I gotta say. But in I want to say the late 30s is when they started to kind of mass produce televisions, but they were only for the very wealthy. And in the late 30s, 1936, 38, somewhere in that ballpark, televisions cost about $450, $500, which in today's money would be about $9,000 for a television. So you can imagine only the wealthy, the very, very wealthy, had a television. So a lot of people would curl up around their radios in the evening after dinner, or maybe even during dinner, and they would listen to radio programs. And they would let their imaginations take over, and they can listen to the story and kind of think, see the characters and see the situations in their own minds. So the first one we're going to talk about is a program that was called Escape. These are really cool, by the way. These are cassette tapes, and they were put together in this kind of the Disney style clamshell, like a VHS style packaging here. But these are cassette tapes, And these were put out by a company called Radio Spirits from Schiller Park, Illinois. I got these many, many years ago, and I do have a working cassette player. I'm a little bit leery to put these in that player, though, because that player doesn't seem like it's very reliable. It's older, and I just don't want it to eat up my tapes. So this is a 6-tape set, and the first episode was from July of 1947. I'm not going to read off every episode, but you're more than welcome to pause it anytime here if you want to stop and read. So it goes from 47 down to 48. And you can see that you get 3 episodes per side of tape. So you get 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 episodes. And it was over 9 full hours of vintage programs. And then there was Escape Volume 2. And they made these covers look really cool, like the old comic book covers. Again, this is a 6-tape set, and you get 9 full hours from 1952. And you can see that some of the guest stars that were in some of these episodes, William Conrad jumped out at me, and it went all the way to 1953. And then there was also Escape Volume 3. Some kind of voodoo black magic going on here on the cover. And these were from 1949 to 1950. So obviously these were not in chronological order, because the end of Volume 2 was September of 53, and then Volume 3 goes back to 49. But you do get the complete episodes. It's just not in chronological order the way that they were broadcast on radio back in the day. The next one here is called The Black Museum. Take a walk with Orson Welles through Scotland's Yard, Mausoleum of Murder. I'd be curious to hear if any of you guys have heard of any of these programs before. You can see that these were released in 1999 by Radio Spirits, which seems like kind of late in the game for cassette tapes to me. But I think these are great. I love these. Obviously, these are out of print. They don't really make cassettes anymore. They're trying to revive cassette tapes like they've revived vinyl records, but it's just not taking off as well as the vinyl. Vinyl has taken over tenfold. Vinyl is outselling CDs and obviously cassette tapes, but vinyl is doing very, very well. It's making a resurgence. It has been for the last few years. And more companies are selling the vinyl records. This is Volume 2 of the Black Museum. This one was released in 2001 by Radio Spirits. I do believe that Radio Spirits is still in operation. I think they're releasing CDs. I haven't checked in a while. They were a few years ago anyway. Here's one called The Hermit's Cave. And if you guys want to see the layout of how the cassette tapes look, it just opens up like a VHS box, and one of the tapes popped out. Let me get that back in. It just kind of houses the cassette tapes, 3 on each side. There's probably some people out there watching that have never seen a cassette tape before. The Hermit's Cave, starring Mel Johnson as the old hermit who stands at the mouth of his cave, warning the weak of heart not to listen. Ghost stories, weird stories, and murders too. The hermit knows all of them. Turn Out Your Lights, The Hermit's Cave, came to radio in 1940 and lasted until 1943. It was one of radio's first horror series. Now, for the first time ever, enjoy 18 digital restored and remastered horrific episodes. The next one here is called Lights Out. It is later than you think. Really nice colors there. I like that. The black and the pink. That looks really good together. And they have kind of a transition in that pink from kind of a light, a dull pink to kind of a brighter, almost a fluorescent pink, which looks really good. So, Lights Out was created by Willis Cooper. Lights Out was radio's ultimate horror series. It came to the airwaves in 1935 and became a national sensation when Arch Oboler took over its reins in 1936. Oboler lost no time establishing himself as the new master of the macabre, writing and directing hundreds of sinister plays for Lights Out, 18 horrific stories that will stir your nerves and test the faint of heart. So this has some late 30s, early 40s to it, right during World War II. Here is The Man of 1,000 Voices, the Mel Blanc show, starring Mel Blanc as himself and all of his zany voices. He was great. He was great in the Jack Benny show, and he was great at every voice that he did in any cartoon that I ever watched. Starring Mel Blanc, Mary Jane Croft, Joseph Kearns, Hans Conried, and Alan Reed. Now, Alan Reed was voiced Fred Flintstone, another great voice actor. Along with a variety of characters, Mel plays 2 main characters on this series, that of Mel Blanc, an addled young man who runs a fix-it shop, and Zuki, Mel's helper in the shop. The stories revolve around Mel and his efforts to impress his girlfriend, Betty, and her father, Mr. Colby. But they always end in disaster for Mel, and comedy highlights for the listeners. Enjoy 18 classic episodes of the Mel Blanc show, 1946, 47. It's possible that you can find some of these on YouTube here. I'm sure you can just Google or do a search on YouTube. Here is the Charlie McCarthy Show, starring Edgar Bergen, who was Candace Bergen's father, and Mortimer Snerd. Do I have that right? So, Edgar Bergen was the puppeteer. Charlie McCarthy was his famous puppet, and Mortimer Snerd was the other kind of the, what do you want to say? You have to be really careful how you describe things these days. People might get offended, so He was kind of the country friend to Charlie McCarthy. So 18 classic broadcasts from one of the most successful comedy programs in radio history, starring Edgar Bergen, Charlie McCarthy, Mortimer Snerd, Pat Patrick as Ursel Twing, and Ray Noble and his orchestra. Produced by NBC. And this was kind of at the tail end of World War II. 45 through 48. But they were a very, very popular. America was really looking for comedy during this dark time in world history. And Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy came through in spades for America, kept people happy during a very, very difficult time in history. Here's Frank Sinatra as Rocky Fortune. Rocky Fortune, starring Frank Sinatra as Rocky Fortune, a drifter who jumped from one adventurous job to another. This NBC series only lasted one season. And this was about in Sinatra's heyday. Sinatra had a very long, very successful career. His early years were very lucrative and put him on the map. He was very popular as a singer, as an actor. And then he got he went into kind of a slump, and sales went down, his records weren't selling. He wasn't young anymore, he wasn't getting as many roles as he used to. And he kind of made a comeback in his older years. His voice was not near what it used to be. A young Frank Sinatra can sing with anybody. I'm going to leave a link down below of Frank Sinatra singing Old Man River. Every time I listen to that, I kid you not, I get goosebumps from head to toe. That guy could sing when he was young. He could sing when he was old too. It just was not the same. And I guess that goes for all of us, right? We all get a little bit older and our skills diminish as we get older. It's just the way it goes. But he still made a very long and great career for himself. This guy here, he's a local to the area. He was born in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And for some reason, when he passed away, he wanted to be buried in Spain. You take that for what it's worth. I don't understand that. But I mean, Spain is absolutely beautiful. Europe is beautiful. I'm not going to begrudge the guy for where he wants to spend eternal peace. But this is called The Genius of Orson Welles. You get classic radio broadcasts, the Mercury Theater on the Air, Suspense, This Is My Best, the Jack Benny Program, and Cavalcade of America, and many more. You get 17 glorious radio programs featuring Orson Welles, a full 9 hours of programming on 6 90-minute cassette tapes. And these are from the early 40s. 41 through, there's even a couple, or one from the 30s, 1938. They had a war bond. Back then, in the 1940s, this was a very, very strong country. I'm talking about America, of course. I know that not only Americans watched this show, but everybody pulled their weight. The men were lying about their age to go over to fight. So these kids were in their 16, 17 years old and, saying that they were 18 and they wanted to go over and fight for the country that they loved. And a lot of the guys that were leaving this country to go overseas to fight evil, some of those guys knew they weren't coming back and they still wanted to go. And the women had to pick up the slack because the men were gone, so they were taking jobs in factories. That's where the term Rosie the Riveter came from. So these women were taking jobs as, making ammo. They were working in metal fabrication shops making tanks and guns. Everybody was pulling their weight for this country. The stars in this country were pitching for war bonds, trying to raise money for this effort to fight evil overseas. And it seems like everything that this country fought for and heroes died for is a waste from the way things are going now. I'm not trying to get preachy. I'm just trying to be very real about this. That's just how I feel. So I'll keep moving here. The next one's called Boston Blackie. Enemy to those who make him an enemy, friend to those who have no friend. Starring Richard Colmar as Boston Blackie, master thief turned detective. Enemy to those who make him an enemy, friend to those who have no friend. Full 9 hours. 18 classic broadcasts. What happened to you, America? Here's a great show. Burns and Allen. George Burns and Gracie Allen. He had such a deep love for his wife. George Burns was these two together were fantastic. You can definitely find those two here on YouTube, and I recommend you do check those out sometime. They're very fun shows. George Burns was a cigar smoker. He lived to be over 100 years old, or 100. I think he was 100 exactly when he passed away. I could be wrong about that. But she died much sooner than he, and he would go to her grave. I don't remember if it was daily or weekly, but he was constantly missing his wife, and now they're together for eternity. So the whole shtick about this show is that Gracie Allen is kind of a ditzy, kind of a bimbo airhead type character, but in real life she was very intelligent, and she was a great comedian to play a role like that. So you get 18 classic radio broadcasts from one of the most beloved couples in show business. Sponsored by Maxwell House Coffee on NBC. This was put out in 1994. All right, the next one is The Saint, a Robin Hood of modern crime. Starring Vincent Price as a freelance sleuth, Simon Templar. A debonair Robin Hood of modern crime known to friend and foe alike as the Saint. 18 detective adventures that will keep you guessing who done it. 1950s. I'm going to go a little bit quicker because I have more to show and I don't want to make this too long. I like I said, I don't think too many people will tune in. I hope you guys do. This is a pretty good history here. But for some reason, if it's not an update video on my channel, they don't get too many views. But this one's called Dimension X. And it says before X-Files, there was Dimension X. Science fiction series came to the radio in 1950, dramatizing the work of Ray Bradbury, Robert Bloch, Robert Heinlein, Isaac Asimov, and Kurt Vonnegut. Wow. And other young writers. That was an all-star cast of writers. Some of the best ever. The next one is called The Life of Riley, starring William Bendix as Riley and John Brown as Digger Odell. Riley, you're looking fine, very natural. What a revolting development that is. I don't know what I don't remember if that's how their voices sounded, but Enjoy the antics of radio's favorite airplane riveter and family man, Chester A. Riley. Marvel at the revolting developments he gets himself into, and laugh until your sides ache at the help he receives from Digby Odell, the friendly undertaker. 18 classic episodes. Here's Fred Allen. Most people will not remember who Fred Allen is, but he was popular for his time in the 40s and 50s. I wouldn't say he was top tier, but he was near the top. He was very, very famous back then. Like I say, most people probably don't know who he is these days. Radio's premier ad-libber, Fred Allen, with Portland Hoffa, Kenny Delmar, Minerva Poyas, Alan Reed, and all the gang. Take a stroll down Allen's Alley and be entertained by Fred and his special guest stars. 9 hours of fun. This is my favorite. I was introduced to the Shadow as a very young child by my grandfather, who had records of the Shadow. I'm talking about vinyl back in the day. And he used to let me listen to these. I wish I still had those records. Those were his records, but I think they got thrown away a long time ago. I never had them. But this is a great show. I think probably most of you guys know of The Shadow. They did a movie, a rendition of The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, and this was back in the 90s, I believe, which to me was it was not that good. But these radio serials were excellent. They were really good. Like I said, you don't see anything. It's the radio. You're listening, but your imagination takes over, and it's excellent. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. 9 full hours of programming. These are from the late 30s into the early 40s. This was volume 1. I never did find volume 2, but I'm going to look for it just to have it. There's probably more than 2 volumes of The Shadow. It was around for a long time. Probably one of the most, if not the very most popular radio serials in history. The next one's called X-1. Some more sci-fi goodie here. Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in 1,000,000 could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. Radio's greatest science fiction series, 18 futuristic stories on 9 hours of tapes from the mid-50s. Here's one that would never fly today. And this is Amos and Andy. These guys were great. But for obvious reasons, you couldn't have this today. This was the Collector's Edition, Volume 3. And 6 audio cassettes, 6 hours. These are the lost shows. Hear them for the first time in over 50 years. I picked this one up at a thrift shop about a year or 2 ago, I believe. Now, this is not the same company as Radio Spirits. What company is this? Metacom, I think. Let's see. There are the tapes. I think this is Metacom. It doesn't say too much about the year that it was produced or the company that produced it. Jack Benny was a genius, and he was another great comedian. The world really, or the country, our country, U.S., really leaned on him during some of the tough times in the 40s. And this is volume 2. This is the only one I have. I have other Jack Benny stuff I'll show you, but this is the only one from Radio Spirits. You can watch these old programs. As a matter of fact, I did. It helped me get through the pandemic when we were all locked up. I watched a lot of Johnny Carson and Jack Benny and stuff like that. It really helped me out during the pandemic. You can find a lot of those right here on YouTube. But this is Volume 2, 18 classic episodes starring Jack Benny, Mary Livingston, Phil Harris, Dennis Day, Don Wilson, Mel Blanc. You know the characters. Those are all characters that had been on the show for years and years and years. And the Sportsman's Quartet, laugh till your sides ache with radio's stingiest comic, the man who never got older than 39. That was the running joke. He was always 39 every year. He had kind of a feminine demeanor to me, but I'm not judging. You know, I thought he was a great comedian. He was married to Mary Livingston was his wife. They were married for, I think, over 50, maybe 60 years. There was an episode of The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson with Jack Benny was the guest. Johnny Carson really loved Jack Benny. He looked up to him. He admired him. That was his favorite comedian. They were great friends in real life. And if you get a chance to search that out, look for The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson with guest Jack Benny. It's great. And you can see just how Johnny Carson lights up around Jack Benny just to be around him. It was amazing. The next one's called The Whistler. The Whistler knows many things, for he walks by night. This one was creepy because he really did whistle, and you can hear the footsteps at night, and you can picture in the darkness of an alley, and you can hear the footsteps getting closer and closer, and you can hear that whistling, and it always creeped me out. But it was a good creep out. You know, it was a fun feeling to have that. The Whistler was played by Bill Foreman, and the eerie 13-note whistle was whistled by Dorothy Roberts. Enjoy 18 classic mystery episodes told by the Whistler, who knows many things, for he walks by night. Each tale is full of twists and surprises. You'll be guessing who done it at the very end. And these are from the mid-40s to the early 50s. And then there was The Whistler, Volume 2. And these were from the early 40s, right in the smack dab middle, right in the heart of World War II. Next one is called The Mysterious Traveler. Join the mysterious traveler on journeys into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. Starring Maurice Tarplin, 18 uncut shows on 9 hours of high-quality audio cassette tape. Tales which we hope you will enjoy, and they will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable if you can. These are kind of a little bit out of order. You got early 50s. There's a 49 kind of stuck in there. There's a 46. And then there was a kind of like a little part 2 here, which if you look at the size of this one just looks a little different. I don't know if this was kind of made, like a fan-made part 2. I mean, it has the authentic cassette tapes in there. There's only 3 in this little addendum here. I would call it an addendum to that box set, but it doesn't have any other info, and it looks like this might have been photocopied but not in color, so I don't know, but I'm glad to have it nonetheless. The next one here is called X-1. Did I already do one of the X-1s? I might have this out of order. Let me see. Yeah, I did. I sure did. So let me pull that one back out just to put it here side by side. So this was X-1. We already did go over that one, and here's Volume 2 of the same program. You can see he's reading a book by H.G. Wells, a person or a thing from another world. I don't know if you can call them aliens anymore. Maybe somebody would be offended by that. I'm not sure. I'm on eggshells all the time. Not really. So these are from the mid-50s. Next one here is called Quiet Please. And this one is eerie tales that unlock your imagination and unleash the terrors that lurk there. Willis Cooper, creator of Lights Out, brings you Quiet Please, a surrealistic horror series starring Ernest Chappell. The stories will grip you, stir your nerves, and deliver a terrifying punch. And these are from the late 40s. And the next one is called The Weird Circle. In this cave by the restless sea, the bellkeeper tolls the bell, gathering again. Out of the past, phantoms of a world gone by gather to tell stories of the strange and the weird. That's exactly what I'm into, the strange and the weird. Okay, in the cave by the restless sea, we meet to call from out of the past stories strange and weird. Bellkeeper, toll the bell, so that all may know that we are gathered again in the weird circle. So chanted the announcer as he called out to the fans whose thirst for the unusual could only be quenched with bizarre stories and weird tales, from gruesome skeletal ghosts to frightful creatures of the night. Listen to these 18 stories from the time-worn pages of the past, stories from the weird circle. So that was it for, the kind of the Disney clamshell type packaging. But I do have some other ones here. I have a Jack Benny 20 episode 10 CD set called Oh Rochester. If you've ever watched any of the Jack Benny programs, any of the shows, that was a very popular and it was often said, Oh Rochester, which was his sidekick. And Rochester had a respectable role in the show. He was not portrayed as some kind of a dummy or I got to be careful how he was portrayed as a man and respected. So there was no kind of controversy over how he was treated or portrayed. And Jack Benny had a deep love and respect. And you can watch documentaries about Jack Benny here on YouTube, and you'll find all that out. I watched a lot of that stuff during the pandemic. So this is also by Radio Spirits, but I'll show you side by side what it looks like. The packaging is just a little different. It still does kind of have almost a Disney clamshell type of packaging, but it's just not as tall. It's a little bit wider and a little bit shorter, that's all. It's still really cool packaging. I mean, it feels very sturdy, very heavy. It's a nice set. But you get 10 classic episodes from the late 30s all the way up to early 50s. And these are CDs now. These are not cassette tapes. And then there's a little bit of literature you can read about this set. It's really nice. I think I paid like $2 for this, which is probably one of the best deals I've ever bought at a thrift shop. That was really good. At the same time, the same day, at the same place, I also got the Holiday Classics. I had to grab it. I think this was also like $2. And there you can see a young Jack Benny. There's Bing. There's the Andrews Sisters. So good. It's Robert Young. He was Father Knows Best, and other things too. But you get, it says your favorites from the golden age of radio. The Andrews Sisters are absolutely amazing. They are so good. I think they're all passed on by now. I think all of these people are passed on by now. But if you ever get a chance, some of you guys know who the Andrews Sisters are. I mean, it's... but I'm sure there are a lot of younger folk out there watching this who'd never heard of any of these people. But if you ever get a chance, do check out Bing Crosby, check out Jack Benny, check out the Andrews Sisters. There's so much great entertainment here on YouTube. I watch YouTube almost exclusively now. I rarely watch TV anymore. I don't watch the news anymore just because it's so depressing. I mean, every day it's something, another punch right in the gut. You know, I don't. It's just very depressing. Here's a show starring the great Jack Webb. This was a classic radio mystery called Jeff Reagan, Investigator. 16 episodes on 8 CDs. This was also put out by Radio Spirits. If you guys like film noir or detective classics, you would like that. Here's Jack Webb again. This is Dragnet. That's where he made his bones. That's where he made a name for himself in Dragnet. These are the Dragnet official files. You get 10 CDs and 20 episodes. Very glad to have these. And by now you could probably tell I'm a big Jack Benny fan after hearing me and seeing my collection, but I strongly recommend you guys check him out. If you've never heard of Jack Benny before, do check him out. I think you'll find that very interesting. And he always had that bit too where he played his violin very often in his show. And he played terrible, but it was all a ruse because he was a very gifted musician and comedian and actor. He really could play a very good violin, but he always played for comedy effect for his show. He played really, really bad, when in reality he was excellent. And they portrayed him as a miser. They always made it seem like he was a penny pincher. I think there may have been some truth to that, though. It seems like he did kind of live frugal, but then you think of the times or the era that he came up in, you know, during the Great Depression and into the war years. People didn't have a lot of stuff, so you had to kind of stretch things out a little bit more. So here's the Great Gildersleeve Neighbors. I bought this. I didn't know anything about this, but I bought this at the same time that I bought this at a thrift shop, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I like to find new things. I like to find new channels, which brings me to, I was going to bring this up earlier in this video, and I completely forgot until now. I'm interested in new channels, and I'm finding new friends quite a bit, and to me, that's half the fun about YouTube. I mean, there's so much great content on YouTube, and then you meet some of these great people behind the great channels. If you have anybody that you would like to recommend or shout out that you think deserve more subs, or you just feel like people would enjoy them, leave a link down below, or actually don't leave a link because YouTube's funny about that. So sometimes if you leave a link on other people's videos, they think that's spam, that you're spamming, and they will kick that off into like a junk box, or what do you call it, like a spam filter type thing. But you can comment the channel name down below, and there are people who watch these videos who also go down to read the comments. So, you know, you can give somebody a shout out in the comments below. I encourage you to do that. A lot of channels won't let you do that, but I want you to do that, and because I'm looking for new channels to watch. And if there are people out there who you think deserve more views, put their name down below, and I'll go check them out, and I'm sure other people who are watching this video and reading the comments will give them a shot too. So I was saying I don't know anything about the great Gildersleeve Neighbors, but at some point I will definitely pop this in and I'll give it a spin and I'll check them out. Okay, so I got a little pile here, and other than this, the rest of those are kind of more modern, but this is The Shadow. This was a fan-made set that I bought on eBay probably 20 years ago. I'm not even exaggerating. It was probably 20, maybe longer than that. This is the original The Shadow. 12 discs, 12 hours, 24 shows. And the quality was very, very good. I listened to all of these. These were excellent. And they even put disc art. I mean, this was a really cool set. And I'm glad to have that. And then there was somebody else was also selling some episodes. And these were episodes that weren't included in this set, and I wanted to get them. So there's a couple extra discs here. There's four, I think was there 4 or 5? I guess 4. Yeah, so those were just extra episodes. And these are more, well, actually this one is not, let me see. This is Radio Spirits 2. This is the Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah, this is OTR, Old Time Radio. This was a Smithsonian Legendary Performers, the best of Old Time Radio. This was Alfred Hitchcock. I bought this used online a long time ago. Probably, again, over 20 years ago. And you get the complete and unedited, some of his best movies. The 39 Steps, Rebecca, Strangers on a Train. These are all excellent. There's a booklet inside. Everybody knows that Alfred Hitchcock is the master of suspense, and he's one of the greatest to ever do it. This had a hefty price tag at one time, and I think when I bought this, even though it was kind of beat up, I did pay quite a bit, and I'm thinking probably by now, this was from 2000, so that was 23 years ago it came out now. You can probably get this much cheaper now, I'm thinking, because everything's digital now. I don't know, but if you're interested, just check out eBay or a secondary market somewhere, and you can probably get these pretty cheap. I'm thinking, I don't know. Then again, it might be something that's rare and went out of print, I don't know, but these are pretty cool because they each came in their own disc. And there's a book. Let's take that out and look at it really quick, just to do a quick flip. But this is a beautiful set. Really, really nice. And then, sorry to just flip through so quick like that, but I don't want to make this too long. But there's the disc. Really, really good set. And this one is also Radio Spirits. These are the favorite holiday stories. You get 3 hours on 3 compact discs. So you get the kind of the Cliff Notes version of these movies, which are A Christmas Carol, Miracle on 34th Street, and It's a Wonderful Life. And you get them each on their own disc there. Really, really cool. You can find a lot of this stuff if you go to thrift shops and stuff like that, or if you just check on the secondary market. Now these, I really haven't listened to any of these yet. These are called graphic audio, a movie in your mind, they're calling these. I paid $3 for this apparently. That's just that dry erase marker. It's almost like a crayon, and you can kind of wipe it off with a tissue. I haven't done that yet. But you get 5 hours on 5 CDs. It says it's rated mature, so you get, I guess, kind of like graphic westerns here on this one. I haven't listened to any of these yet. Same thing here. This one's called Blood Assassins. So it sounds like it may be some kind of like an action movie type deal in your mind. And this one was called Pursuit. And this one was called The Web. So I can't really speak on any of these because I haven't listened to any of them. But again, I do plan to check those out at some point. And two more here. We have kind of a dragons and warriors type, movie for your mind. Again, this was a national best-selling author. You get 3 CDs, 3 hours again. A Dragon Lover's Treasury of the Fantastic. Haven't listened to this one yet either. But there are some of the other titles you can get if you want to. You can search those out and find them. And then I got Charlotte's Web, which is a great cartoon. Very depressing cartoon. But it was fun. I picked it up, and these are cassette tapes again. So that was it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little showcasing of some of my old-time radio collection and some of the favorites, and hope I gave you guys some ideas of things to watch or listen to, and maybe I entertained you a little bit. I don't know, but yeah, I don't really have anything else to add, I guess. So look at these beautiful dogs, man. These dogs are great. Thinking about recording a video. I've been watching Meyer Greenblatt. I'm not sure if it's Greenblatt or Greenblatt. I apologize if I mispronounced the name. I've been watching his videos. He's got a really good channel, and he lives in San Francisco, right by the ocean. And he does these incredible beach walk videos. I encourage you guys. I shouted him out. I normally don't shout out at all, but I think you guys would really enjoy his channel. And there's another guy named Gratu Orloff, and he has a channel called the Hotel Orloff. I really enjoy both of those guys are buddies. They're good buddies, and they both have great channels. So I recommend you guys to check those out. But going back to Meyer, he lives right on the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and he does these beach walks, and it's absolutely beautiful. He's pointing out sand crabs and birds, and there was a jellyfish in his video today, and you can see some of the historical beautiful homes that are out there too. It just looks really, really cool. And I'm a history buff. I love history, and just looking at that looks like it's so rich in history. If you guys go check it out, you'll see what I mean. Do go over and check out his channel. All right, with that said, guys, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like I said, I normally don't have much going on, so if you guys want to leave a couple comments, I'll chit-chat with you in the comments section. But for now, we're going to close out here, and I'll catch you next time. Later.